Welcome to Get Uncomfortable with Dakota and Shay, the podcast where we discuss why we enjoy seeking out challenges and how this stimulates personal and professional growth.
The goal of this podcast is to help you learn to welcome adversity into your daily routine. Through discussion, we want to show you how seeking out challenges will help you grow in all areas of your life.
We plan to cover topics such as surrounding yourself with the right people, the importance of physical exertion, learning new and difficult skills, and many others. We hope you enjoy the show. Welcome back to Get Uncomfortable with Dakota and Shay. We have a good one today. We're going to be talking about training and nutrition, recovery, and what we're doing to make that available to everybody across the country, across the world, really. But first things first. We're drinking First Street Brewing Company's Lincoln Street Red today. He got us an emergency six-pack. Nathan over at First Street Brewing, Nathan and Jesse. Einstein Beverage for all your kombucha needs as well. So he helped us out. This is local, and it's all delicious. Everything he makes is great.
So delicious. This Lincoln Street Red is a Irish red ale, I believe.
Red ale.
And it is great. Just in time for St. Patty's Day.
Just in time. That was perfect. So thank you guys so much. Thank you, First Street. If anybody is in the area, make sure to go check them out. Check out their website. They've got a lot of cool gear, and they do a lot of cool things for the community. So make sure to check them out. Okay.
Let's get into it.
We're going to get into it today.
What are we talking about first?
I think we should talk about training, the best ways to train. And I think we should probably really define what most people are looking for. Because the training that you do is going to depend on your goal. So a lot of times what I hear for goals, like with everybody that I've worked with, they all talk about wanting to lose weight. So I think that's an ill-defined goal because that's not really what you want. You want to look good naked. Like that's what people want, is they want to look good. They want to look a certain way, right? They're looking for aesthetic. And they think that the only way to get that aesthetic is through weight loss.
Mm-hmm. Specifically like fat loss.
Right.
So.
Yeah, fat loss specifically. Which, yes, that is part of the equation, but the other side of it is to build lean tissue as well. And that's where most people miss the mark on this. They don't understand what they want is to look good with their shirt off.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, they understand that. I shouldn't say it like that. They understand that. They don't understand how to get there. So building the lean tissue is how you get there, because you can lose all the weight in the world. You can do a ton of endurance running, and you're going to look like an endurance runner. You're going to be really good at endurance running, but you might not necessarily have the muscle or the lean, athletic look that you're looking for. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what we should talk about, how to work in resistance training into your program when maybe you've never done it before,
right? And
what that looks like. So somebody comes into you, and they say, hey, it's been, since high school, since I lifted weights, I've done X, Y, and Z program. I've done Zumba. I've done jazzercise. I've done classes at the Y. I've tried CrossFit. I've tried this and that. What do you do with them?
What do we do with them? So if somebody comes in and they haven't basically done resistance training with a kettlebell, barbell, dumbbell since high school, first and foremost, we're assessing where they're currently at. Like you said, maybe they have done some classes and, maybe that incorporated some bodyweight stuff or something of that sort. But we're most likely starting out with assessing them and then putting them through bodyweight and single leg stuff, single arm stuff. Okay. God, what's the right term for that? Unilateral work, yes. So a lot of the times that's what I start people out with, because when they come in and they haven't had proper coaching or they haven't lifted like an athlete in a long time, there's imbalances. There's problems that need to be corrected along the way of, building them up to get to a point where they can do some of the bigger, more important lifts, such as, squatting with a barbell or deadlifting with a barbell, bench pressing with a barbell, all the big lifts. So that's usually how I start people. I think that's usually how we both start people.
Yep, you nailed it. It's assessment. It's figuring out what they can and can't do, what they need strengthened or stretched, So corrective stretching and exercise to make sure that they're moving properly and to avoid injury. That's the big one,
Yeah.
I have some people that come in that are like, look, man, I want to squat 400 and some pounds. And okay, maybe eventually. But then I have other people come in and say, like, I have a 60-year-old librarian. She comes in and she says, I just want to be able to get up off the floor without having to use my arms. Like, I just want to be able to basically get off the floor if I'm down on the floor doing work or putting books away or doing this or that. And that was our goal. But it was like, it's the same thing. We start with where are you at currently, and then we develop the program off of you and what you need. But the main thing that I have everybody do across the board is compound movements. Like, that's the big one. We're doing something that's making you move your body through space. So you're not sitting on a machine.
Right.
And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with a machine, but when you're trying to teach somebody how to build full body strength so they're functional and they can actually do something and they're using the right musculature at the right time, I prefer to do it with free weights and moving the body through space. I feel like that is a more effective method. And then if there are specific areas that are lagging behind that we need to build up, I think that's the place for machines. I think there's nothing wrong with doing machine work, but like if somebody's got really weak hamstrings, they can do a squat, they can jump, they can run, they can lunge, but their hamstrings are just really weak. They're failing on deadlifts. They can't do a good clean pull, right? They can't do a good kettlebell swing or something. But we need to isolate the hamstrings. We need to get your hamstrings stronger. That's where we'll do stuff like hamstring curls, right? To build that lagging body part up. I think that's really important.
I want to say, circling back a little bit, I want to say that the goal of just getting up off the floor in a normal fashion with correct mechanics and whatnot is an extremely rare down-to-earth goal. Yeah. Because most people come into us and they're like, they are way ahead of with their thinking, which it's not a bad thing, but they're like way ahead. Like, yeah, I want to learn how to, or I want to do snatches and Olympic power weightlifting exercises, and I'm like, okay, let's see how you move.
Yeah.
Let's see how you lunge.
Yeah. Show me a lunge.
Show me a good lunge. And then from there, I'm like, yeah, we can't do that yet. You're not ready for that. We got to dial it way back and correct these things. Because the most common thing that I see is bad feet and bad hips and usually postural problems. I mean, across the board, like whether they're 15, 25, 35, 65, like that is the most common thing that I see in people that we train. And we got to correct some of that stuff first, which you can always build those people as you correct them too. Right. But I feel like a lot of people are impatient right off the bat and they're like, yeah, I got to do this or that. And I want to be here in 2 months. And I'm like, ooh, let's hang on. Let's step back just a minute here and
you're taking
correct everything so you feel way better by the time you get there. It's going to take you longer because we're correcting these deficiencies that you have, but you're going to feel way better, and it's going to be longevity-wise, it's going to be much better for you.
Well, we're avoiding injury, right?
We're avoiding injury.
We're avoiding a detour to Snap City.
Right.
If you don't address this stuff, it's a matter of time only until you're injured. Something's going to be out, right? You have really tight pecs. You have really tight shoulders. You have that forward head posture. So that's the upper and lower cross syndrome by Dr. Vladimir Yanda. He's the one who kind of brought that into the research, the upper and lower cross syndrome. So the upper cross syndrome is where the head is forward, the really bad forward head posture. You have kyphosis, right? Internally rounded shoulders. And then the lower cross is where you have a really weak core. You've got the kind of like the Donald Duck butt.
Yeah.
Right, where the butt sticks out and you have a lot of curvature.
The Instagram butt.
Yeah, the Instagram butt. I call it the Kim K butt. Everybody sticks their ass butt out.
Yeah.
So the upper and lower cross. So the other thing I see that I would add is a really weak core. A lot of people don't know how to brace their core or haven't trained their core in a long time, so it's very weak.
I see that. Everybody does not know how to brace their core. I haven't seen a single person yet that knows how to properly brace their core when moving any level of load.
Here, let's do this.
So that goes in with like postural for me.
Yes. I would agree.
Bracing the core and learning how to use it properly. And
right.
whatnot.
I want to break it down for people that might not know what we're talking about specifically. So here's what I'm going to do. This is what I do with people when they come in. So if you're listening to this or watching this, stand up right now, and we're going to go through what I call the bracing sequence. So this is how you're going to brace your core. So your feet should be hip width apart, standing up tall, right? You're going to take your feet and screw them into the floor. So your toes are going to go away from each other without actually moving the shoes. So you're going to push your toes to the outside edge of your shoes or away from each other. That's going to keep your knees from, spread the floor, from crashing together. We call that the valgus knee, when your knees collapse, knock-kneed. The next thing you're going to do is squeeze your butt. The next thing you're going to do is if somebody was going to walk by and just pop you in the stomach, not punch you in the stomach super hard, but pop you in the stomach, and you're going to brace, right? You're just going to kind of squeeze the core. You can still talk, you can still turn and look, but the core is tight. That's a braced core. Then I want you to roll your shoulders back and down away from the ear, and then tuck your chin. Drive your head back to the wall behind you. Stand up really tall. Now you can release your glutes, but keep the core tight, okay? And I want you to imagine a line from your belly button to your sternum. The length of that line should not change through movement, okay? That's also known as good posture, but now you're braced as well. And if you can keep that position, that's called midline, right? Like maintaining midline, that's what I call it. If you can do that, you're in a much better position. So before you do a deadlift, before you do squats, before you're doing clean and presses with dumbbells or kettlebell swings, whatever you're doing, lunging.
Before you pick your kid up off the floor, before you grab the grocery bag off the floor and put it in the car.
Dog food bag.
Yeah, dog food bag.
That's good.
So
you're braced now and you're good. If you can keep that through any of those things, those real life activities, that's what we really
people
should be
that I have,
about.
I'm like, I tell them when they pick up the 25-pound kettlebell, if we're doing training with it and they pick it up just to move it or whatever, or they're setting it down at the end of whatever exercise we're doing, the set, and they start slouching, setting it down. I mean, I get on them right away and I'm like, whenever you pick anything up in here, even if it's a 2.5-pound plate, you brace.
Yes.
Like make it a habit, make it a lifestyle habit.
I don't remember where I heard this, but it was somebody was talking about the tension, right? That's creating tension in the body. And they're saying there's different types of tension, like as much tension as you would need to pick up a pen off the floor or as much tension as you would need to do a 350-pound deadlift.
Right.
I would rather have you have the tension for a 350-pound deadlift to pick the pen up off the floor than to have the tension for the pen to ever pick up the 350-pound deadlift. Mm-hmm. So, like, always brace. That's a perfect example. So I guess maybe we get into some ways to start. You know, the easiest way to start, especially if you don't have access to a gym, is to get a kettlebell or get a set of dumbbells or a sandbag. I mean, I really love sandbag training.
Sandbag. I mean, hell, if you literally don't have access to that or money for that kind of thing, get some milk cartons and fill them up with water.
Yeah, some gallon jugs.
Or sand or dirt or rocks.
Big ass rocks.
Yeah.
And do these specific movement patterns, right? You want to do hinges. You want to do squats. So hinges is picking something up off the floor, like a deadlift. Squats would be doing a squat or doing a lunge, right? Anything kind of like that. Any type of pressing. You could do push-ups. You could do overhead pressing. Any type of pulling that you could do. Bent over rows, pull-ups, things like that. You want to hit those big movement patterns. That's what you're trying to work into. That should be the bulk of your program versus isolation movements. Mm-hmm. Curls, tricep extensions, hamstring curls.
Or, God forbid, versus 3 hours of cardio every day.
Yeah, I haven't talked about that yet.
I know we need to get into that. But if you want weight loss, you can do 3 hours of cardio a day or an hour of cardio a day. But like we said, you're not going to look good. You're not going to look the way that you think you will look when you lose those 25 pounds via that method. Because what we're talking about is essentially body recomposition, where we're increasing dense, lean muscle mass and reducing the fat. Now, if you're only doing cardio, you're just going to reduce fat, and you're going to have this little skinny person skeletal muscle physique underneath all of that excess fat that you had.
Right.
So if you want to look like that, which I don't really know anyone that does, then yeah, you can do that. You can train an hour and a half to 3 hours of cardio, 5 days a week or whatever.
Well,
you're going to lose weight, but
you're going to lose weight
as long as you're not eating like a
asshole.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I would say. Stop eating like an asshole.
Stop eating like an asshole. Yes. But if you want to look fit and toned, quote unquote, everybody says toned.
Hate that word.
If you want the aesthetic muscular look, or for females, the toned look, then you need to get your ass a kettlebell or a set of dumbbells, or go to a gym that has those things and train free weights to start out, to develop those muscles.
Agreed.
With the compound movements that we're talking about.
Agreed.
So
I love it. What was I going to talk about? Oh,
the
goals.
We were going to,
the goals.
Yeah.
Like, so you were talking about somebody who does 3 hours of cardio and is very, very lean, very, like, I would say skinny, athletic for sure, right?
Yeah.
Very low body fat percentage. But if your goal is to run marathons, then yes, you should do that. Like,
yeah, you're going
to be. But strength training will benefit you as well. If you have stronger quadriceps and stronger hamstrings and stronger core, it will help.
I was just talking about not only that, but if you're trying to run a marathon and you don't do strength training, the marathon runners that strength train, which any one of them that is a good marathon runner, they have some kind of strength and conditioning program.
Yes.
Where they're using resistance training to develop athleticism. But they have a leg up on other people, even starting, even if you're a person that does resistance training that wants to run a marathon starting out, you have a leg up on them because you've been doing resistance training. So your skeletal system is adapted to compressive forces. You know what I mean? With lifting. And so you're better suited to take impacts of running.
It's not going to be as hard on you.
It's not going to be as hard on you starting out. And you might not get overuse injuries that some people would get had they not been doing any kind of resistance training, such as shin splints, which are absolutely terrible. Not
fun. That is not something you want to mess with if you can avoid it.
So anyways, everybody should strength train.
Yeah, I think
with weights or resistance, some form of calisthenics or resistance training.
Being stronger, being stronger is never going to be a bad thing. I cannot think of anything where being stronger would be worse.
Right.
Unless your goal is to sit on the couch forever and do nothing.
And you know what? I want to interject another point for aerobic athletes and strength training. You're going to balance out your imbalances that you develop from only running or, let's say swimming. I was a swimmer in high school and college, so I for sure was imbalanced. My posterior chain was terrible in high school, and then college straightened me out because we had actual real fucking strength coaches that knew what they were doing. And they straightened me out. They helped me out. Better posture. I got stronger. I got faster, and I attribute some of that to strength training. And today I don't have terrible muscle imbalances that are ruining my life.
Yeah.
Because of
every
it.
day.
Yeah.
Keeping you from training. Yeah, that's really important. I think everyone should do strength training, resistance training of some form. I think that is key to, we could even talk about it from a metabolic perspective. You raise your basal metabolic rate when you build more lean tissue, which allows you to, actually eat more and not gain weight because your basal metabolic rate is increased from the lean mass that you've built, the lean tissue.
I've seen so many people that are confused about that.
Yes.
That they don't quite understand. It's kind of hard to, especially people online, ask that question a lot, about strength training, and they just don't know. But it's hard to explain that online, via text.
Right. It's a complex process.
It's a complex process.
And there's more to it than even I know.
Right.
For sure. I'm not saying I know everything about it, but I do know that all the people that I've worked with that do what we do here and they follow the protocol get results.
They lose weight and they get stronger.
And they feel better and their blood work comes back better. they're healthier.
Blood work. Yeah.
That's a marker. That's a real marker of health. Like you can see what's going on with blood work. And when their blood work is better, longevity, right? You're going to live longer without the negative effects of chronic disease that this country is riddled with at this time. Plagued. That's a good word.
It's literally, we are plagued with chronic disease.
What did I see the other day? I saw somebody say, like, what if, like, so on Instagram and Facebook now, if you post anything about the virus, if you post anything about anything with masks or the CDC or anything, it pops up a little information bar
deal
for information on COVID-19. Visit cdc.gov. Yeah. What if on every single fast food, junk food, processed bullshit commercial, ad, anything, they had a link on it that said, for information regarding health and fitness, refer to local gym X, Y, and Z.
Or diabetes, obesity, and hypertension.
Yeah.
Reference your local CDC guidelines on how to prevent this.
Well, I would say send it to a gym.
Eat a fucking apple. Stuff.
I think they should link it to a gym. They should link it to people who know what they're doing.
No.
Eat a fucking apple.
I disagree. I think, and I'm not being an asshole here, I disagree with you. I don't think they should link it to a gym. I think they should link it to the cdc.gov website where they have guidelines on how to prevent obesity and type 2 diabetes and hypertension, and then they should have gyms, whatever. I don't know.
Like local gyms in the area. You can
I'm just bullshitting.
I think
it's never going to happen. But yeah, why don't we have that on anything tagged McDonald's or Wendy's or insert fast food restaurant name here.
Candy, soda cup, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
why don't they?
Products like that, candy, soda. Well, it's because they have lobbyists.
Exactly.
So that's why.
Health is not
billions
incentivized.
And billions of dollars. That's why.
Yeah. There's a lot of money in not. Here's the problem.
You know what? It's good really for the healthcare industry too. We're making a lot of money treating obese people that are dying of heart disease and shit like that.
Here's what bums me out about that is that at a nuclear family level, that's causing suffering. That's causing a lot of pain and suffering when people are suffering from health issues. It really causes a lot of pain at the family level, at the community level, right? Friends and family are sick and not doing well. Maybe some of the issues they're having could have been avoided or been prevented by changing the lifestyle, right? That's what we talked about on the last one.
Yeah.
Could have reduced 575,000 hospital visits by just changing their lifestyle.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we went on a little rant, but that's good.
We did.
The next thing I want to talk about is rep ranges for strength training specifically, and what does what.
Depends on your goal.
So I'll start, and you tell me if you got anything to add in. So
you go.
This is what I always say. Rep ranges, basically from 1 to 5, are going to be focused on more strength, right? Like absolute strength building. So if you're doing anything in the rep range of 1 to 5, squats, deadlifts, presses, things like that, you should be loading the barbell to a point where you can't do more weight than those, whatever your rep scheme is based on your program. Hopefully you're working with somebody that has a good program.
But if you're a beginner, don't do that.
Yeah.
This is the wrong program for you.
Right. You're not going to do not start
We're just
there.
explaining what these rep ranges will achieve as far as adaptations go, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yes, that's good.
That way.
Don't go out and do this.
Average Joe doesn't go to the gym and be like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm going to get strong. Let's go do my 1 rep.
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that. A good program's not going to have you do that. Rep ranges 6 to 12, I would say, are more hypertrophy focused. So that is, the adaptation to that is going to be building the actual muscle size, right? The actual size of your muscles are going to get larger, 6 to 12. Anything 12 plus, there is some argument on this. These are rough ranges. People adapt differently, but 12 plus is more focused on endurance, muscular endurance. And that's how you can start to develop a program. Mm-hmm. I do not start people on 1 rep maxes.
Mm-mm.
That is not what I do.
Any good coach does not start people.
I rarely
1 rep maxes. So I see this a lot with high school athletes. If your high school athlete is going to weights class and they're a freshman and they go into weights class, and on week 1 or in the beginning, at some point in the beginning, the coach says, all right, we're going to find your 1 rep max or your 3 rep max or whatever. And you put a fucking barbell on a freshman's back and try to find their 1 rep max or their 3 rep max. Pull your kid out of that weights class. Go find a proper fucking coach.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to a personal trainer and they're like, yeah, we got to find your 1 rep max to figure out, your percentages and blah, blah, blah. Find a different personal trainer.
Yeah, I do not agree with that. Unless you're working with somebody who's already high level.
Unless they're
seasoned. Training.
Yes. Unless they're a seasoned athlete in the weight room and they have proper mechanics, go for it.
Right.
But seasoned means to me more than a year of training.
Training age.
Right? At least 6 months. I mean, depending on quality of training.
Right. Well, yeah.
Because I can take somebody that hasn't really done a ton of training and in 6 months get them to a point where we can go relatively heavy safely, as long as progress has reached a certain point. So
I would agree with that. I think that's fair. That's a fair assessment. So that's some good guidelines and some warnings there, some canaries in coal mines, right?
What do you start people with?
What do you mean?
Between those 3 programs, what do you start people with generally? Obviously, it's not the first 1-5 rep type rep range.
Right.
Right.
Right. So mostly what I do when I start people is, well, it varies, but this would be the general recommendation for me. I bring people in. I make sure that they have a strong core. I'm always doing assessments on their core first, flexibility, any mobility type issues that they have. Make sure we can address those. But if we're good to go on those, typically I'm going to start somebody in that 6 to 12 rep range to build them up. And it's mostly going to be unilateral stuff to start. Maybe like a barbell, like a 35 or 45 pound barbell on their back if they're doing squats or deadlifts. But most of the time with deadlifts and stuff, I start with like a kettlebell, like a single kettlebell, and I'll put plates on the floor to build them up if they don't have the proper range of motion. 6 to 12 is typically where I start to build that level of grab one. It's
I need
fine.
to refresh
it's okay.
myself.
We got to get another one open. That's typically where I'll start them. And then we kind of build that. They have a little bit more muscular endurance. They have more stability in the joint once they've built that muscle around the joint. So it's much safer for them to do heavier lifts later on. But I don't start them on super heavy lifts. And typically, even with people that I'm working with or have been working with for a long time, if we're going to go heavy, I'll stick to 3s, but typically 5s, the 5 rep range.
Yeah.
Because I can put a person that has not trained a lot or not trained in a long time on a 5x5 routine for a year, honestly, a year, and progressively overload by adding 5 or 10 pounds every week on that movement. And they will continue to adapt to that for a year, sometimes longer. Really, if it's working, don't change it, right? Until it needs to be changed. So when they stop adapting is when you switch things up. But that's typically how I'll start somebody. And we do a lot of core work. We do a lot of like the postural stuff. We do a lot of that. And then make sure that their mobility is staying on track with that. Recommending massages, even a little bit of yoga if some people need it, like outside of the gym, to make sure that they're not developing those imbalances. And if I see it, we talk about it and address that. And then we build them up over time. But this kind of leads into the next thing. The other thing that really helps is the nutrition side of things. So a lot of pain people are feeling and a lot of lack of mobility that people have is due to, it's okay. We're open another one. Due to a lot of, I hate this word because it's so thrown around, but I mean, honestly, inflammation. It's a lack of metabolic health. You have a lot of, if you did blood work, you could see high levels of C-reactive protein, right? Like,
I need to do blood work.
I want to
get some blood work done.
I've actually been looking into doing this, and it's kind of a pain in the ass. I've called clinics. Obviously, you have to go in. You have to see a provider, right? You have to see a physician.
And have a reason, right?
This is the thing, the insurance. So the prices are, it's kind of expensive to go in and get a lot of blood work done if you don't have a diagnosis. So why are you doing this? So you submit it to insurance. The insurance says, why is he doing this? He doesn't have a diagnosis. Well, it's because I want to see where I'm at and optimize my health. Not just, I don't want to get blood work just because I'm diabetic. Like, that's not the only time you should do blood work, I don't think. I just want to do it. So I talked to them, and they're giving you the runaround. We got to come in and see somebody, be an established patient, and then you have to. You could get the orders to get the blood work done,
but you're paying out of pocket.
You're paying out of pocket.
$500.
Right, or more,
depending
on the how detailed of a report you want, how detailed blood work you want.
Right.
So I came to the conclusion, like, okay, well, this is just not worth it because the internet is a thing. So this is where the internet comes in, and there are companies out there that you can just order kits off of their website, and you go in, you get your blood drawn at a lab, and then you get the results back from that. It's also expensive.
Right. How much are we talking?
It depends on the level. I mean, like, it's like $400 or $500. You could go up to even higher. And obviously they offer consultations. If you don't know how to read your blood work, I would probably recommend you have somebody sit down and talk to you about it. Yeah. These companies offer that, but I can at least get the blood work, and I don't have to find a primary care physician. I don't have to go. I don't have a primary care physician currently because I don't have health problems.
Luckily, for people listening, 42% of you will have a reason to have your blood drawn and tested.
Right. And I'm not going to get into all the ins and outs of the blood work right now, but there's a ton of resources out there where you can look up, and they will teach you the process. One guy's name is Sam Miller Science on Instagram. He does a pretty good job of breaking down. He has a podcast. He's got some stuff on Instagram going on. Rhonda Patrick would be a good resource.
Mind Fitness.
I think Ben Greenfield does some of this, where you can find some resources on how to just understand what you're looking at
and what you should look for in your blood work results. And there's so much, like, that's evolving too as we speak, because I know that Rhonda has put some information out on podcasts about how sometimes the results aren't even indicative of a problem, where I'm butchering this right now, but like having to do with like LDL, and then like certain particle sizes, like some blood work now measures the actual particle sizes of
HDL, LDL, VLDL.
Yeah, exactly. And just because you have a higher level of the bad cholesterol doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have a problem based on the particle size. And so that's starting to become an important thing to look at, and stuff like that. So listening to them, I totally butchered that.
No, I think you did.
But there's some good information in there, that those people have.
For sure. And if you have a doctor and you can get the blood work done, get the blood work done. You should see where your vitamin D levels are, obviously. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you need to look into. Talk to a physician.
Yeah, a lot of different stuff, not just cholesterol and
your lipid panel. But so definitely I would recommend doing that. That is a good view. That's a good way to see inside of yourself, like see how you're actually doing. So I think I am going to actually. So the two companies that I've looked at are Everlywell and Wellness FX. Those are the two companies that I found that have different packages. You can order separate tests.
They just send you a kit. You go to a lab.
Yeah.
Plop it in. How do you send it back?
Through the mail.
You just insulate it, or?
I don't know. I haven't done it yet.
Okay. That's what I'm wondering about it is. You must have to UPS it in styrofoam, with cold packs or something, just.
Well, I just bought some probiotics, some high-level probiotics recommended by Rhonda Patrick, Dr. Rhonda Patrick.
Really?
It's called Visbiome is the name of the probiotics. And she said one large issue with buying just probiotics anywhere, most of them are dead.
Die.
Yeah. Or there's not enough in the actual supplement to move the needle at all. But she said this brand specifically has that. So I ordered it from them, and they ship it from them in
a cold box.
They have a cooler pack in there surrounded by styrofoam.
Right.
So not even styrofoam. It's a cooler. It's basically a cooler.
It's a cooler.
They send it to you so it maintains a specific temperature because they store them cooled, and you're supposed to keep them in the fridge.
You have to keep them in the fridge. Yeah, that's what physicians I've talked to say about it, like about probiotics. If you have a good probiotic, if you have to store it in the fridge, otherwise it goes bad. Actually, my son, we were giving him one while he was on antibiotics. and it was one that you Florigen. That's what it was.
Okay.
But store it in the fridge. You know, if you don't store it in the fridge, the cultures die, and it's not a probiotic anymore.
It's useless.
It's useless.
It's a waste of money.
You know what I'm gonna start doing? I'm gonna start doing like some pickled cabbage, like some sauerkraut.
Yes.
On my own and stuff, and maybe kimchi or something.
Super
that
good.
Stuff has really good. That's probiotic.
Super
central right there.
Yeah.
I don't
Kombucha.
know how
I
good
think kombucha is pretty good.
Kombucha, yeah. First Street Brewing.
First Street.
Also, this beer is delicious.
I really like really good. The
an
Lincoln
Irish
Street
red ale.
Irish red ale. I just had my first one the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
On St. Paddy's Day.
St. Paddy's Day. Yeah.
Rightfully so.
It was good. Well, being as I'm Irish on both sides of the family, like all the way through, I figured it was time.
It was a good call.
Okay, here's what we should go into next. I was thinking about this. We should go into what people should eat and how much they should be eating, roughly. And this is going to be straight out of the Enlightened Athlete Nutrition Protocol.
Yes.
Okay, which I just updated the website a couple weeks ago. If you head over to enlightenedathlete.com and you sign up, you give us your information. All it does is it sends you a link to download the Enlightened Athlete Nutrition Protocol for free. So you can get this done for you PDF guide.
Free stuff?
Free stuff.
You're telling me I can learn how to eat and what to eat for free?
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that amazing?
I'm not going to do it. It's too hard.
It's too hard. Don't say that shit to me. That drives me nuts. But go over there and get that. But what we're going to talk about is like what you need to eat. So what I recommend people to eat and what a lot of other really smart people recommend people to eat is whole, unprocessed food as much as possible. So what does that mean? I would break it down into basically protein, carbs, fats, and then like vegetables. I guess is probably a pretty good way to break that down. If we're doing
carbs, fats.
Yep.
Okay.
And like leafy greens, things that don't have a ton of calories in them, right? Mm-hmm. Like you could eat 4 plates of broccoli.
Do you put fruits under carbs?
Yes.
Is that what you?
Yes.
Yeah,
most of the time, those are going to fall under carbohydrates because they do have
significant amounts of sugars.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think as a fructose, right?
Good sugars.
It's attached to fiber.
Yeah.
That's
natural sugars.
Right.
Yeah. That digest a different way from just eating them as table sugar.
Right. Which is not good.
Which is bullshit.
So a lot of times people tell me like, oh, I drink a lot of juice. Like, stop doing that. That's like, I mean, that's just like soda. There's no fiber attached to it. There's a shitload of added sugar into it. When you drink that and there's no fiber attached to it, it goes right to the liver and it stresses the liver. And a lot of times the liver can't keep up with that to metabolize it. And then you get what they call non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So you start to get visceral fat around your liver. And that is some terrible shit.
Really
causes
bad.
a ton of health problems. So juice is one of the not recommended drinks.
Juice is definitely shit. Don't be drinking Welch's. Like,
don't do that.
Stop doing that.
Stop doing that.
People have actually reversed diabetes, type 2 diabetes, eating fruit. There's studies on that.
Really?
Yeah, there's studies on that.
Wow.
It's oh gosh, man, this was a long time ago in college, but I wrote a research paper on it, I think for nutrition, my nutrition course, but there's some good studies out there with people eating fruits and not dying, not and actually the exact opposite happens. They become more healthy.
Yeah.
Because fruits are real foods.
They have tons.
And that circles us back to eat whole foods. Like,
eat whole foods.
Stop eating processed bullshit.
What's processed bullshit?
Anything that comes in a box or a plastic container.
Anything that's been processed. Anything
that is not something that was picked.
Yep.
Or harvested directly from an animal.
Right.
That is processed.
Anything that's not that is processed. That's what that's what you said.
Yeah. Anything that's not that. Sorry. Excuse me. But yeah, it's anything that has gone through some kind of process.
Right.
To refine it. Anything that's been refined in some way.
So like what I would say is the further away it is from its original state, that is like it's going to be more processed as you go down the line.
Right.
like white flour, is extremely processed.
Yeah.
Right. So, that's the thing is a lot of people don't even know what process is. Like, can I eat cheese? I'm like, I mean, yes, you can. You can eat whatever you want, but if you're gonna eat cheese, try to eat cheese that is less processed. Like a Kraft single is so far from real cheese that it's like they don't even know. They're like, that's cheese, right? Like, oh well, I think it technically, honestly, is a cheese-like product.
Cheese-like substance.
That's what they say on the.
That's
it's
what
like
they say
cheese-like,
on the label.
If you look at a box of Velveeta, like the big square blocks of whatever that shit is,
cheese-like substance.
Yes,
is written on it.
Yes,
somewhere.
It's not even food.
It's not even cheese.
So like all the things that are in grocery stores today, like all of the Ho-Hos and the Twinkies and the Star Crunchies and the candy bars and all that shit did not exist 70, 80 years ago. It didn't even exist. It's been created.
Yeah.
So that's not food.
That's not real food. It's boxed and it's packaged in plastic.
Yep. And it lasts forever.
You can put anything. Yeah. There was somebody that said something that like along the lines of, if you go to you know where to shop in the supermarket, you know that you're shopping in a healthy or using a healthy strategy if you do not buy anything that sits on a shelf.
Yeah.
Like you don't buy anything that sits on the shelf.
Right.
That's generally not processed. Because you're buying out of the produce section or you're buying out of a refrigerated section.
Yep.
And
frozen.
You know, there's definitely exceptions to it, but yeah, if you stay away from the shelves, you know, that's a start.
The recommendation I've heard is stick to the outside edges of the store.
Right.
Don't go deep into the maze of the processed foods. So that's actually, in my experience, a pretty good recommendation. Like stick to the outside edges. Real food is what you want. And in that guide, we break that down.
Right.
So now
there's some examples, right?
Yeah. Yep. A detailed example. There's pictures. Who doesn't love pictures?
I love pictures.
I do too. So how much should somebody be eating? This is going to be very specific to you, your goals, all that stuff, but there are general recommendations. Like what I like to say is you need to be able to put a number on how much you're eating. You need to know the amount of food you eat each day. You should know how much you're getting of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. Like you should know that. And the way that we do that is from a company called Precision Nutrition. I use it. I love it. It's your hand. You just take your hand everywhere with you already. You can use it. So a protein is the size of your palm. A serving of protein is the size and thickness of your palm. A serving of fats is roughly the size of your thumb. A serving of carbohydrates, like starchy, dense carbohydrates, is a cupped handful. Whatever fits in a cupped handful, that's one serving.
Not pasta.
Not pasta. Well, pasta would be in
Would
that.
pasta count as that?
Yeah, pasta would be a carbohydrate.
A starchy
carbohydrate.
Carbohydrate.
I'm not saying it's the best option, but that's how you can put a measurement goal. And then basically vegetables, I do a fist. The size of your fist is a serving of vegetables.
Right.
So for most females, one of each of those at a meal, 3 or 4 times a day is going to be a good place to start. For males, 2 of each of those. So 2 palms of protein, 2 thumbs of fat, 2 cupped handfuls of carbohydrates, and 2 servings of vegetables. If you eat 4 meals a day, that's a good place to start. Obviously, you need to adjust that based on certain things that you should probably work with a coach for, but that's a good place to start. The main thing is you need to know how much you're eating each day. Most people have no idea how much they eat each day. They don't even pay attention to it.
And these are general recommendations, right?
100%.
But first, the really important thing is exactly what you're saying. Figure out how much you're eating, because most people that have a weight issue are they're overeating. They're overeating in some category.
They don't have any portion control
because they're not measuring their portions at all. They're not being mindful of it. And they're overeating. My wife hates me because I'm always like, thinking in these terms of measuring out my portions. And then I go and I have to look at the box. Like
I do too.
Or something. If I'm eating some bullshit cracker or something, like a Cheez-It, I'm like, I want to know what's actually in these.
Oh, and then I don't eat it.
Or I Google it. Yeah, I mean, I don't eat it, or I eat very little of it. Or if I make food, which I do very often, cook, vegetables with a lean protein. And then I look it up and I'm like, okay, how many calories are in a chicken leg, a chicken quarter, and what is the fat and protein breakdown? But you don't have to do that.
Right.
Is my point. You can just kind of look at it and say, okay, here's my portion, or here's my 2 palms, and it's relative to your body size, because everybody's hand is different, a different size.
Yeah.
So it's really useful.
It works,
and it's way easier than counting calories.
It is. Well, and the nice thing is, so I get a lot of confusion about this too, because everybody has been taught that counting calories is the way, right? Everybody asks me all the time, what's the calories, what's the calories, what's the calories? That the portion control breakdown equals the calories. Like,
right.
It all adds up on the back end. Food is made up of calories. Like, that's just all there is to it. So you doing that reduces your calories. If you reduce your portion size, you reduce your calories.
Right.
That's how that breaks down. But It's just easier for most people. They don't have time to sit down and research this shit.
Instead of looking at how many thousands of calories can I do, we're looking at how many do I eat, 2 or half a palm or 1 palm,
right.
We're literally we're dealing in single digits here.
Right.
So we can measure that really easily. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, that makes it a lot easier. But I'll add this to what you said. There's a little bit of an exception to that rule, counting calories. If you're trying to get jacked and really shredded like a bodybuilder, you're probably going to have to count calories.
Yes.
But anything less than that, like for general weight loss, you can use this method. Do it for 3 weeks. See how it's working out. Are you losing weight? Good. Keep doing it. Are you not losing weight? Adjust something. Eat half a scoop of carbohydrates, half a handful of carbohydrates,
or reduce a handful of carbs per day.
Yeah, or reduce it by 1 carb per day, 3 days a week. Right?
Yeah.
So there's things you can use. It just makes it so easy to really play with that without crunching numbers and keeping track of everything in a food journal. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, for sure. And the other thing I will say is, like you said, you cook at home often. That's one good thing that's going to help everybody out. If you just cook at home more often, you know exactly what's in your food. When you go to a restaurant, you don't know what's in the food. You don't know what they cooked it in. You don't know what the ingredients are. You don't know how processed it is, like fast food joints. I mean, it's terrible. It's a nightmare. You have no idea what's in there. So cooking at home more often is going to give you more control over what you're eating. So just cook at home more often. If you guys hear anything in the background, I do have we run a fully functional gym here where we record the podcast. So sometimes there's some noise in the background. So bear with us. No, that's a great point. Being able to control what you're eating, I think that's really good. So we nailed that. So make sure you go over and get the Enlightened Athlete Nutrition Protocol.
It's free.
It's free.
What are you waiting for?
What are you waiting for? Take control of your health. I feel like we did a pretty good job. The last thing I was going to talk about was like different recovery methods, because when you start training, obviously you're going to get sore.
This is the one that I really wanted to talk about.
Is it?
But we don't have a lot of time.
We got to do it fast.
Let's get into it.
Okay, let's get into it. What did you want to talk about with it?
I wanted to know what you found about stim versus massage guns or vibrating massage therapy or whatever.
Yeah, so I guess they're different types of.
We can talk about everything though. I want to talk about everything.
Okay.
Maybe we should talk about what the most important. I mean, there's 3 that come to mind for me that are the most important above all else.
What are the 3?
And then there's a 4th that is pretty important. Well, that's really undervalued.
Okay, I'm curious what you're going to say.
Okay, you're curious about my 3. I'll tell you my 3. Number 1, sleep.
Okay.
Number 2, nutrition.
Yeah.
Number 3, hydration.
That was my 3.
Okay.
That was my 3.
Number 4, very underutilized, active recovery.
Yep.
And disclaimer, I didn't come up with that. I mean, I just learned that from people, fitness leaders or industry leaders, I should say, fitness industry leaders.
I love that.
It's out there. And
it's what makes sense. It's what works.
Everybody's focusing on supplements and this magic therapy or this detox. I don't know if that's even a recovery thing, but whatever. There's all these stupid little programs that people are focusing on or supplements or something. And you're neglecting sleep and nutrition and hydration before all of that.
Right.
Like if you're not doing that, you're not recovering properly.
Right.
You should be doing that before all the other shit.
100%. Those are the main ones that will work the best. Like those are the ones that everybody's listening. We're going to take a quick break here. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Sorry, we had to take a break. Like I said before, we have a fully functional fitness facility that we operate here. Had some music going. It was driving me nuts. I couldn't think, so I had to shut it off. But basically, what we're talking about is we're just saying like the best ways for you to recover typically are not the ways that people are going to sell you how to recover. So it's those 3 or 4 that we talked about. They can't sell them.
They can't sell you sleep.
Right.
I mean, I guess they kind of can. And
a good mattress.
Yeah, that kind of thing. But don't take sleeping pills. Don't let them sell you sleeping pills. But you're right. It's most of the stuff that we're talking about. Like people can't sell you on it. They can't sell you a magic fix for it, which we were kind of talking about. Everybody's looking for the magic pill, and it just doesn't exist. It's like you got to go back to your basics. But real quick, so we established that nutrition, sleep, hydration, and active recovery are kind of the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
Those come first before everything else. And we were kind of looking into some other stuff too, right? Some some supplemental type therapies that you can use for recovery, right?
Yeah.
So what are those?
So the 2 that I had looked into were, what did he call them? NEMS devices and like massage guns. So NMES is neuromuscular electrical stimulation device. It's like a Compex machine. I mean, there's a bunch of different brands out there. I don't know all the brands, but
STEM or whatever.
Yeah.
Or STEM. I don't know what they call it, but
E-STIM usually.
E-STIM, yeah. They use it at physical therapy clinics a lot.
So there's a lot of research on that, and it actually does work, but it's just a different process than the massage guns. So the massage guns are what do they call it? Percussive
therapy? Guns. Yeah, percussive therapy.
Percussion therapy, I guess is what they say.
Therapy.
So it's like hitting something,
yeah,
right? Like
rapidly.
Yes, rapidly and repeatedly. So the massage gun is it has a little travel. Think of a jigsaw, and it just goes in and out, right? Like it's got a motor and it just goes in and out. And you just put that on a specific spot on your body and just rattles your brains out.
Yeah.
It actually feels pretty good
when you get it up on your drop.
But what he said was, it was Dr. Aaron Horsig from Squat University. Horsig?
I believe it's, Horsig.
Okay, Squat University.
Anyways,
I'll say that.
Squat University.
Whatever. He
really
said
good stuff.
He has a massage gun that he uses. He also has an NMES device. Ooh, that was a mouthful.
Can we just call it E-STIM or something?
Let's just call it E-STIM. He uses both. They're not necessarily like one is better than the other. And the other thing, so they're expensive, right? Like these devices are expensive.
They're so expensive.
He said they're not required for recovery. If you're handling the first big 3 or 4 that like we talked about,
right,
you're fine. You do not need those to recover, but it might just help. Like if you're sitting at home watching TV and you don't feel like getting on the floor and foam rolling or stretching or whatever, getting a massage every other week, you can just, while you're watching TV, use these devices and help. So the E-STIM actually makes the muscles contract. It has a similar effect to like what working out would do. Like you create a muscle contraction while working out. This actually like electrically causes the muscle to contract.
Right. You hook the 2 electrodes up to yourself at certain areas, and it sends a pulse through the muscle, which causes it to fire and contract, relax.
And they say that can help flush out some of the byproducts of exercise, like when you're really sore, like active recovery would,
some of the
right?
negative. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's pretty much like active recovery, right? Low intensity for the muscle, but it's still doing work and you don't even really have to work it, which is
Right.
kind of cool.
Yeah.
It is being worked, but it's like, it's being
involuntarily.
Yeah, involuntarily.
I was looking
fired.
at some information. I didn't get too deep into it, but they were saying something about the ability to actually build muscle with
that
stims.
system.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Because it causes a muscular contraction repeatedly.
Yeah.
So,
it makes sense. I mean, it's making the muscle do work. So
yeah. I didn't look into it.
I would say,